I'm Laura Estrada Adams, Strategic Communications and Outreach Coordinator for our team in Caltrans headquarters in Sacramento. And this is CT Talks, Episode 6, Equity, Sustainability, and Tribal Affairs, also known as ESTA. Whether you're a returning viewer or this is your first time joining CT Talks, we're excited to welcome you and thank you for joining us today. In case you're not able to stay along today, no worries. We will be sending out the follow-up email afterwards with a recorded link. During the webinar, we encourage you to put your questions in the chat as Harriet and I will be pausing throughout the webinar to pass questions along to our guests. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Harriet to do an introduction.
Thank you, Laura. Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our amazing panelists for being here and making this happen. As you guys know from previous ones, we love to see engagement and big high fives thrown out to our panelists. So let's see if you're able and you know how, tap on those emojis and send some love to our panelists right now. It takes a lot for them to come out here and be interviewed live with us all to share this great information. So here we go. Send all the love. Please feel free to throw it throughout because it keeps us going. Everyone's a little nervous, right? So it's nice to see that appreciation. So thank you all for participating in that. So what are we going to cover today? You know the deal. CT Talk is providing you insightful conversations, connecting with the people of Caltrans. And today, do we have an exciting topic? ESTA is a really, really amazing program that we have within the department that's really spearheading a lot of sustainable efforts. And you're going to hear a lot more about those very shortly. So we're going to hear from our three amazing panelists, and you will have your chance to ask your burning questions. So if ever, at any point, a question comes up, please feel free to throw it in the chat, and we will be pausing in our own prepared questions to get to yours. So with that, we have some brief introductions and biographies to our three amazing panelists. You might be wondering who those are, although if you've registered, you already know because you've seen it on the graphic, but we have Barbara Marquez, Bella Romero, and Riley Keller. Say hi, everybody. Thank you again for being here. And Laura, I'll kick it to you to start us off with Barbara's introduction and biography.
All right, thank you. So first off, I'm going to introduce Barbara Marquez. She is the Sustainability Initiatives Manager. In her role, Barbara is responsible for overseeing several units within this office, including Complete Streets, Sustainable Facilities Experience at Caltrans, leading sustainability initiatives at both the district and headquarters levels. Barbara works internally across divisions and districts, as well as externally with our partners to promote sustainable transportation efforts. She started her civil service career in Caltrans District 7, Los Angeles, where she worked for 18 years in the Division of Environmental Planning in several varied roles to ensure environmental compliance. She also worked for the Caltrans to work in the newly formed sustainability program. Barbara received her Bachelor of Science degree in biology from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and a Master of Urban and Regional Planning from Cal Poly Pomona. Thanks for joining us, Barbara.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you're next up, Harriet.
Thank you, Laura. I have the great privilege of introducing Bella Romero. So Bella started at Caltrans in 2022 as the Strategic Communications Analyst, which is an AGPA position within ESTA. She was helping to grow the team's communications efforts to increase engagement with internal and external partners. Within 1 year, Bella was promoted to lead the communications efforts for ESTA as the External Affairs Manager, which is the Staff Service Manager 1. Awesome. The communication team serves all of ESTA's equity and sustainability initiatives to advance holistic, integrated, and restorative policies to planning, building, and advocating for a more just transportation system. Specifically, Bella's role helps to develop and execute tailored communication plans in collaboration with headquarters public and legislative affairs. The goal of these plans is to ensure transparency and engagement with both internal and external audiences, including other agencies, the legislature, and community groups. Bella graduated summa cum laude in communication from UC Davis and recently completed a master's in public administration at USC's Sol Price School for Public Policy. Welcome, Bella. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And I have the pleasure to introduce our third panelist today, Riley Keller. Riley is a Transportation Electrification Program Manager currently for Caltrans. In his current role, he serves as a technical and policy expert to lead the department's zero-emission vehicle (ZEV) action plan and related activities in support of the state's climate, equity, and air quality goals. Riley works internally across Caltrans divisions and districts, as well as a liaison and ZEV resource to local, state, and federal agencies to develop and implement strategies to advance zero-emission vehicles and infrastructure. Riley started his civil service career with Caltrans District 8 in Riverside and San Bernardino counties in the Division of Transportation Planning. Since then, he has worked in various transportation planning functions, including system planning, freight planning, air quality, and regional planning at several Caltrans district offices throughout the state. Riley received his Bachelor of Science degree at Urban and Regional Planning from California State Polytechnic University, Pomona. Thank you so much for joining us today, Riley. And next up, I'm going to hand it over to Harriet to start off the questions.
All right, well, some really great biographies there. Thank you for providing us those. Hope that gives you all the audience a little bit more of an understanding of these great panelists we have here today. So I'm going to start with you, Bella, with our first question. So, it's Caltrans, it's the state. We love our acronyms. So ESTA is a super cool one, and we've kind of shared a little bit about what it stands for, but can you tell us a little bit more? What is ESTA?
Yeah, as I pull it up, I like to kind of have a visual for our team because we have 7 different branches. We all work really closely together, and we really fall within the principles of sustainability, equity, and then tribal affairs is such a key component to everything that we do. So let me pull that up really quick to share with you all. Let's see. Can you see it okay?
Looks good.
Awesome. Okay, so our branches are, as you can see, quite extensive and varied, but ultimately what brings us all together is our commitment to a sustainable and equitable future for all of California, because you can't really have sustainability without equity, and equity cannot be achieved unless it's sustainable. You have to be able to do this in a way that's benefiting folks who need it to meet the communities where they're at, but also having a bigger picture of the goals and achieving them and having a plan. And so what we do is we're really on sort of the prevention, oversight, planning side of it, where all of our teams are working together to see what is it that we can do, what's the need that we have to meet. What can we do for the planet and for people? So the people component really is about, again, that sustainability, affordability, accessibility to the resources that we provide on the transportation sector, on the state highway system, but also within our communities, because groups like Carbon Reduction and Complete Streets, they're looking, and VMT, which is Vehicle Miles Travel, that VMT reduction branch, they're all looking at like mode shift, multimodal transportation, so walking, biking, transit, rail. But then you have our ZEV branch where they're looking at how to do that in a way that benefits the planet, that's sustainable, is reducing greenhouse gases, but also keeping in mind people need to get places. So where do we put chargers? And then again, that gets into the component of equity and sustainability. We have to build enough chargers where people need them. So all of this really feeds one back into the other, which is why, as much as we have these different branches that look like they would be separate buckets, we're one big bucket. These are just drops in the bucket in everything that we do. And then our Native American liaisons and race and equity group kind of came to us over the last about two years ago, about 2 years ago, we started having these conversations. In 2022, 2023, we really made the transition into absorbing what was the Caltrans Office of Race and Equity, where NALB, the Native American Liaison Branch, and our Race and Equity Branch were housed under. And that was, again, because we were working so closely together, and you can't have sustainable policies without considering, again, who are our communities, and tribes are a huge part of California infrastructure. And collaboration with them is critical, and we help to provide, our team works with them to improve communication, collaboration, and planning on projects, but also providing them with resources to provide their own infrastructure and meet their own needs, since they are independent governments. For the most part, I know that's not everybody. We have over, gosh, I always forget the number. We have hundreds of tribes in California. So this is not just, one phone call we make. This is ongoing collaboration and communication. We have our Native American Advisory Committee that we work with. So they're working with us to, again, tell us what the needs are, tell us what the issues are, what we need to be focusing on, especially when it comes to culturally sensitive topics and projects, and advising the director on how to move forward and continue to have positive relationships. And then our race and equity branch is really integrated into the work that we do. But one of the biggest things that we've been working on with them is the Transportation Equity Index tool, which I'm very excited that I can say on this call that we are launching it on Monday. It has been ongoing for years. So our team is very excited. We've worked extensively since 2021 with internal and external partners to develop this tool to serve California. We'll be starting it with some Caltrans projects internally, but it is a public tool. So for those of you on this webcast here who are not Caltrans staff, you are welcome to use it. It will be available to everybody, which is awesome. It basically breaks down communities' access to jobs, locations, right? So transit access, as well as housing, to give us an idea at the census block level where we are missing equitable opportunity for these communities as we plan projects, but also fund projects. So right now we're still developing the use cases internally, but we'll be starting with CSIS, which I'm so sorry, I'm not remembering what that acronym stands for right now. Too many acronyms in my brain for this talk. And I'm not the expert on those projects either, but I'm really excited to be able to say we are launching it Monday. But yeah, so that's some of what our team does, kind of on the bigger scale. I'll let Barb kind of start with some of the sustainability stuff, because that's really her bread and butter with our sustainable facilities and operations and complete streets teams. So Barb, take it over.
Thanks. CISA stands for,
Thank you, Barb.
Caltrans System Investment Strategy. So I don't know, maybe Henry.
That sounds right. That sounds like a great guess.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Bella. We're really excited to be here. So thank you, Laura and Harriet, for inviting us to come on. So, we're really excited at ESTA to be promoting all of these different initiatives that we have. So my bio kind of mentioned this, but, I've been involved in sustainability at Caltrans for like 6 years. I think it's actually maybe closer to 7 now. And more specifically right now, the function that I have, because I'm trying to stay on topic and not stray too much, but I oversee a couple different areas within ESTA. And so in this list, and I love this list, the 2 areas that I oversee is our Sustainable Facilities and Operations branch, led by Derek Longacre, who, shout out to him, he's awesome. All my stuff are great. And then my Complete Streets branch, shout out to Anika Jesse. She leads that for us at ESTA. Those are the 2 branches that I oversee. I also work pretty extensively with our districts. We have district sustainability representatives in every district. And so they're the main focal points within each district on sustainability issues. And so we coordinate with them on a monthly basis at least. And so if you don't know who your district sustainability rep is, you can message me. I'll let you know who that is, and every district has one. But yeah, those are the 3 main areas that I oversee. I also help out with like different areas within our branch. But we definitely, a main role that ESTA has is really working across divisions and across districts to implement sustainability. And sustainability, as Bella mentioned, it's really like the lens that we look at for what is sustainability is the triple bottom line, which is also called the 3 Ps or the 3 Es. It's people, planet, and prosperity, or sometimes it's referred to as equity, environment, and economy. So it's really like, how are we looking at these things holistically? You know, to be sustainable is really, it's looking at how are we benefiting not only what we need today, but also looking to the future. How are we benefiting our future generations? So it's a very holistic representation of what we should be doing today to be that, you know, sustainable into the future. And so all of these things we work on are really looking through that lens. So like when we look at Complete Streets, we're working across divisions and the districts in order to implement those active transportation and more transit that's really going to help us into the future and how we're going to have a better transportation system that's going to serve all of our all the communities within California. And we're looking at sustainable facilities and operations. It's the other branch that I oversee. We're looking at our assets here within Caltrans, especially our facilities, right, our buildings. And so we have a lot of them. We've got like, I don't know, hundreds of them, close to like maybe 800 different buildings. It's quite a bit. It's, I think, the second largest in the state of California in terms of agencies. And how are we making sure that all those buildings, you know, have got, you know, electric components to it, so we're not burning, you know, we're not emitting greenhouse gas emissions for those facilities? How are we being as clean as possible? Are we recycling? Those kinds of things. So we're really looking at our facilities and also our operations, our assets, our transportation corridors. A lot of you might have realized that we switched to LED light bulbs in the past several years. And so that's really a switch to be more energy efficient and to be greener that way. So we have these initiatives, and we don't work in a vacuum. We work across divisions in order to do that. So that's just a little snippet of the areas that I work in. And I don't want to get too much into that. So I think I'm going to turn it over to Riley, and he can talk more about the branch that he oversees.
Well, first off, I want to give a shout out to the team, our transportation electrification team. There's only 4 of us. So that's Jimmy O'Day. He's our assistant deputy director. We have Jelani Young. He's the transportation electrification program coordinator. And then Emily Belding. She is our infrastructure coordinator on that side. And just to dive deeper into what we do in our work, our zero emission vehicle branch is 100% geared towards meeting state targets for zero emission vehicle adoption. So our work spans 5 key areas, which is passenger vehicles, commercial vehicles, the Caltrans fleet, passenger rail, and transit buses. In each of those 5 areas, yeah, thanks, Bella, for bringing that up on the screen. But in each of those 5 areas, California has set regulatory requirements to transition to zero emission vehicles. So, for example, for our fleet, we're subject to the Advanced Clean Fleet Standard, which comes from the California Air Resources Board. But there's also state law, Senate Bill 1203, that requires state departments to have net zero operations by 2035. And we actually have one of the largest fleets in the country at 12,000 vehicles, and 700 of those today are zero emission vehicles. So we're making some really good progress on that end. On the passenger rail side of things, many people don't know this outside of Caltrans, but Caltrans owns locomotives used in the state's intercity rail lines for the Capital Corridor, the Pacific Surfliner, and the San Joaquin. And we're required to transition those new rail vehicles to zero emission vehicle to ZEV by 2035. Also, our branch is also the lead for developing Caltrans actions to achieve statewide targets for zero emission vehicles. So this includes the policies, the guidance, the plans, as well as tracking and progress reporting of those actions. So a lot of cool stuff we have going on there. Yeah. Slow overview.
Nice. Well, thank you all for those little introductions to your areas. It sounds like, would you say 7 different areas all in one? It's like a crazy amount of responsibility, and the diversity of the work you're doing is like crazy. And they're like, let's put this awesome bunch all together and you'll make magic happen, right? So it's really cool to hear some of those elements. And then Riley, that was cool to hear, like, what, we're over halfway to our zero emission vehicle fleet, right? From what did you say?
I would say exactly halfway. We have 700 today, but we have over 12,000 on-road and
okay.
off-road equipment. So
Okay.
we're making progress,
Yeah.
and we are like the largest fleet in the nation. So it's not doesn't happen overnight, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're making good making good progress towards it.
Okay, see, in my head, I heard 7,000, so I was like, yeah, let's highlight that. But thank you for the clarification, and I am glad to see that we're moving forward in a great direction with all the work you're doing. So, very cool. Well, Laura, do we want to take a break and check the chat? I don't know if you've seen some questions coming in. There's been some popping up.
Oh, it looks like actually, so in the chat, it looks like the chat is actually disabled. And I see a question in there from Charles, but yeah, I do see your message, Charles, if you want to put a question in there. It's the public chat that's disabled. So if you do put questions in there, we will be able to see those.
Yeah, I see a couple here. There's one about the use of solar. Are you also working on solar in the Caltrans right-of-way as part of the net zero energy use? Is that something any of you can speak to?
Yeah, I can start that one off.
Thank you.
So solar in our right of way is definitely something that we're interested in. There's a lot of logistical issues with that, right? A lot of clearances that we need to go through. But there are some State Department of Transportation that have been able to pilot this. And so I think District 8 in particular is looking at, ways to, how can we pilot something like solar in our right of way? But it's in the infancy. We actually recently, in the past few months, have hired a solar energy coordinator in ESTA. So shout out to Sue Lee. So he's going to be trying to work among the districts to figure out, like, how is it that can we do this? What is the process for putting solar into a right of way? What are all the different criteria that we need to look at? Because there's a lot. I mean, if you're put on a building, that's one thing. But if you're actually putting it in our traveled way, I mean, there's a lot that we need to look at to make sure that that's okay. So there's a lot of consideration, but we definitely are focusing on it, and we're working with districts to see if we can pilot anything that might be viable and replicable for other districts. So it is definitely on our radar, and we're excited about the possibility of it.
Awesome. Thank you, Barbara.
I have a question over here. If we want to do another one, Harriet.
Sure, go for it.
What are the strategies in place to ensure that the department is not operating in silos in terms of equity efforts?
Speak to that question since I'm not necessarily on our race and equity team, but we are working to improve that. I know that our team is growing, so we're working on hiring some more folks to help with some strategies because from what I've seen, all the different districts are doing incredible work. They have great ideas, and rather than reinvent the wheel, how can we share those resources with each other that we may not be aware of? Sometimes it's just a matter of sending an email, but that can be extra work, right? So how do we get on the same page to share these resources so that it's not just, District 4 doing it for District 4, D2 doing it for D2, right? To share across, because equity is for everybody. And I think that it would be very easy to share some of these sort of like overall strategies with one another. Obviously, if there's like specific issues within a project, I still think we could learn from each other. But yeah, we're working on it is all I can really say. We're expanding the team. We are really big on collaboration within ESTA. So we're always talking and sharing and connecting each other with the different divisions that we're working on for projects or funding opportunities. But yeah, it's just we have a staff of one currently on our race and equity branch on the liaison between districts and such. So, but she is getting more staff. So we're excited to kind of expand that. And she's got ideas, and yeah, shout out to Rihanna for that one. But yeah.
Great point, Bella. As you said that, I went ahead and put in the chat the links for anybody interested in ESTA recruitment. There's an email there and the website that Bella provided for us that she mentioned they're hiring. So some really good opportunities for yourself or to share with other people that could be interested. Come and join our team.
Yeah, and that just shows the dedication to that, providing that equity and breaking down those silos is, throwing more resources at it, hiring more people, making the action happen. So that's really good to hear. Thank you for sharing
Can
that.
I piggyback onto the breaking down the silos too? You know, well, we really see ESTA a big role that we have, and we're actually situated in the director's office itself. So we're not part of another program. And so one of our goals is to work across divisions in order to find where some gaps might be in, you know, and where do we need to like put some more attention towards equity or, you know, towards electrification or towards complete streets. And we work very side by side with the divisions on finding some of these cross-divisional opportunities. So we work really hard at trying to find ways to break down those silos, because people can get very focused on, you know, their deliverables and what they need to do, but we try and kind of branch that out into a bigger picture. So that's a big focus that we have in ESTA.
Nice. Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, I feel like the silent, like we are, for those of you tuning in that are not Caltrans, we are statewide, 12 different districts. I don't even know how many different divisions. There's so many different focus areas. So there's natural silos that happen, but I feel like everyone is focused on breaking those down because we want the information to be equitable, right? And so, yeah, it sounds like there's a big focus for you all doing that. So, yeah, big props to you making that happen. Do we want to take one more question from the chat, or do we want to go to our next question? What are you feeling, Laura?
I'm good either way. How about the panelists? You want another question or from the chat?
Okay, well, I'm going to hit you with one from the chat because I'm curious. This is for you, Riley. So we talked about going fully electric, and there's a question here. Why are we not talking about hybrids? Why are we going full electric? Is there a reason behind that, or is it just, I mean, obviously it's fully electric being electrification, but I'm curious your standpoint.
So, and that's a very good question. So when I refer to transportation electrification, I'm not just only referring to battery electric vehicles. That is also referring to fuel cell hybrid vehicles as well. So transportation electrification as a term encompasses that also. At the end of the day, we are trying to fully eliminate tailpipe emissions. So like, for example, like gasoline hybrid electric vehicles still produce tailpipe emissions. But things like battery electric vehicles do not. I know some people will say on the other side of things, like on the energy grid, there may be some emissions on that side of things depending on how the energy is created. But the good thing about that, though, is that, you know, there are ways to create energy cleanly as well. So yeah, when I refer to transportation electrification, there is the fuel cell electric hybrid. So that's a combination of hydrogen and electric, and that's done not through internal combustion, but through a chemical process there. So I hope that helps.
Throwing in some chemistry in there. I love it. Awesome. Thank you, Riley. Yeah, keep the questions coming. We will take another break and check our chat in a minute. But Laura, I'll let you kick it over to our next question to hear a bit more about our panelists' career journey, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, so I'll start with Barbara. If you can tell us a little bit about your career journey, what led you to Caltrans, kind of give our audience kind of your journey, what that was like.
Sure. Yeah, I've been with Caltrans a very long time. I'm going to date myself here. I started as a student assistant, so shout out to all the students out there, back in 1997. So that's, yeah, I'm old. But I loved it. It was great. I actually found out about it from a bulletin board. That's really how old I am. There was a notice on a bulletin board with a piece of paper. And I was going to school for environmental planning. Well, planning with an emphasis on environmental. And I thought, oh, this would be a great place to, you know, get some experience doing environmental planning work. And I just loved it. I mean, I absolutely loved working at Caltrans. We got such great hands-on experience. I worked in environmental planning. I was in District 7, and that's where I spent the majority of my career. And I did environmental planning work. And really, it was just such a great fit. So I love the people I worked with. You know, I love the subject matter. We were able to actually like do a lot of the environmental documents in-house. You know, I was also a biologist. I majored in biology for my undergrad. And so I was a biologist as well. And so one of the projects I got involved in, and maybe we can show a picture of that one, Bella, is the wildlife crossing project down in District 7. It's the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing Project. And it really relates to sustainability too. because it's really looking at how do you integrate our transportation system with wildlife species, because, we have our transportation facilities, they divide communities, right? We know that, and we're trying to rectify that, but it actually also divides wildlife populations. So I don't know if you have that picture, Bella, to share with everyone. But so we started getting involved in like wildlife crossings because we realized that, our freeways were dividing populations of wildlife species, and some of them need like a lot of habitat, like mountain lions, for example. And so anyway, we worked a lot with that in environmental. We worked on other issues too, but that was one project in particular I wanted to highlight. But in environmental, we really looked at how projects were impacting the environment, right? So wildlife crossings was one of them, but we looked at a lot of different other environmental impacts. It was very interesting. I got a promotion with high-speed rail, like maybe 15 years into my career. And there's the project. Cool. So there's the Wallace-Annenberg Wildlife Crossing project, and that's a schematic. It's in construction right now. It's not actually fully built yet, but that is the latest rendition of it, and working with a lot of partners to make it happen. You can see that's our 101 freeway down in Los Angeles County, and to the south. Okay, so to the right of this picture is the Santa Monica Mountains National Recreation Area, and there's a lot of open space intermixed with development too, but a lot of open space, and it's home to like 10 to 15 mountain lions or something like that. But they're basically like fenced in by our freeway and development. And so mountain lions need like a lot of territory, so they're not able to actually expand territory, and they actually end up like killing each other, or there's inbreeding. So a project like this is really looking to the future and how are these wildlife species going to survive long term. And so a project like this will literally bridge over our 101 freeway and be able to provide the different wildlife species to come in and out of the territory, because there's lots of open space to the north and across other roads that are more passable. So anyway, this is just one of the projects that's really cool when you really start looking at sustainability and you start looking towards the future and how we're going to actually make good projects now that are going to support future generations. We're looking at projects like this, right? It's really got that longevity component to it. So anyway, back to my career story. So when I was in environmental planning, it was really interesting because we were looking at how each particular project focused on the environment. But when I went to high-speed rail, they had a really robust sustainability program. So I don't know if you're familiar with the high-speed rail program, but it's going to be all electric, and they've got, a lot of recycling requirements. They're very focused on sustainability. And so it kind of, like, I learned a lot there. But my heart was always with Caltrans. I kind of always figured I would come back to Caltrans. And so at the same time, Caltrans was developing a sustainability program. So it started with their headquarters program, and then the districts were also incorporating sustainability programs. And so I was able to jump back to Caltrans, and I was the first sustainability manager in District 12 in Orange County. That was a really great experience, and I loved being there. I wasn't there for very long, but it was really exciting to start bringing to Caltrans some of these sustainability principles. Is how are we looking to the future? How are we planning our projects with the future in mind like that? That are really taking into account the people component and the planet and the prosperity, that triple bottom line lens. So it was really exciting. And then I was able to also go back to District 7 and lead sustainability there for a number of years. And that was really great to have this district experience in leading sustainability. But then there were these opportunities that happened at headquarters, and I thought that would be a really great, way to expand my experience and also have that statewide experience leading sustainability efforts. So about 2 years ago, I transitioned to our headquarters branch, and we're called ESTA now. We used to be sustainability, but because of the merger with CORE, we're ESTA. And so that's kind of how I got to where I'm at. I'm really excited to be here. I love the fact that, we're looking really holistically at how to, develop projects and also keep those projects to a point where they're benefiting our future generations and looking at that bigger picture lens. So it's just exciting, and I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Barbara. I love your story, starting off as a student assistant it's something that Harry and I have, met so many people telling those stories starting off in college and, coming on the team, joining the team and just really sticking with Caltrans and promoting within and all the career growth. It's a true testament to the opportunities that we do offer, but definitely inspiring your career path. Absolutely, Barbara. Thank you. So next up, I will hand it over to Riley. If you can tell us your career journey, Riley.
Sure. So actually, Caltrans has been my first and only career move. I graduated, like you mentioned earlier in my intro, I graduated from Cal Poly, their School of Environmental Design, go Broncos, in the Urban and Regional Planning program. And my first day with Caltrans was actually was exactly 1 month after receiving my diploma. So it was a quick transition. I didn't get to do the backpacking and the hiking that I wanted to do after graduating college, but I landed a great position as a transportation planner in our District 8 office, which covers Riverside and San Bernardino counties. There I was working on corridor level plans, acting as a liaison between our headquarters office and our local partners, and supporting our advanced planning and project development teams. Over time, I really became interested in the creation of policy and guidance, which is typically a role of our headquarters office in Sacramento. So I saw there was an opening and I applied to a position here in headquarters and I got it. It was for the branch chief of our freight planning program at the time. And then, throughout all my work, advancing transportation electrification has always been a part of it, but wasn't always my main duty. It was just one piece of the consideration for my work in either corridor planning or developing projects. So basically, looking at it through a multimodal lens, but transportation electrification always really interested me. So really, it's from my experience is what led me to pursue a focus in the zero emission vehicle space, because I just found it so interesting and the opportunities to make a difference really seem endless.
That is awesome. Just landing a job right after college, as you spoke about, and such a cool, innovative role, such as transportation electrification. And I think I recall seeing you post that on LinkedIn and just, we're super excited to see people just joining our team. So great story, great career journey. Thank you so much, Riley. And for Bella, what led you to Caltrans? I think you're fairly new too as well, right?
I'm not new to public service. I did work in the legislature for, I want to say, around 3 years. It was during COVID for the most part, so it's all a blur how long it was. Time had no meaning. But yeah, I'm new to Caltrans. I started October of 22. I actually was a substitute teacher before that. I'd been working in the legislature before that. I worked at a marketing agency before that. But really, it all kind of, if you look at my life from the bigger picture, it really started because I grew up in Davis, California. Shout out to Davis. And for anyone who might live there right now. If you're not familiar with it, Davis loves to talk about how they're a big bike friendly town. I hated biking when I lived there because everything is so spread out. It's still really car centric. And if you've ever biked the bike overpass in Davis, it is, trying to do that at 12 years old, it's 7:30 in the morning on the way to middle school and after volleyball practice in the summer and 100-degree heat. Absolutely not. So I hated biking. And that's where I really discovered my love for the bus. We have Unitrans. And so biggest advocate for buses and just multimodal transit in general. I think that they're Barb has a photo behind her of the bike racks on a bus. I used to take the YOLO bus to my internship in Woodland when I wasn't 16 yet. I think I was 15. So it was between sophomore and junior year because I'm a November baby. So I was always a year behind. So I had to bike. I did a camp counselor position called Puda Creek, and you bike to camp 10 miles every day. And so I would take my bike on the YOLO bus, get on a 40-minute bus ride to my internship and get off, and I would take my bike to and from, and then the YOLO bus would take me about a mile from my house, and I would bike the last mile. And that was some of like the best times of my life. I felt very self-sufficient. I was raised by a single mother, so I didn't have the opportunity, I didn't have a parent picking me up everywhere. And living in Davis, that's kind of uncommon. There were a lot of kids who carpooled. There were a lot of kids who biked or had parents who would, take them back and forth. But I was like, I'm taking the bus. I enjoy my bus rides. I loved reading on the bus. Like, I would get homework or chat with friends. It was like the best time of my life. I love public transit. And then kind of throughout my career, my education. So in college, I lived in DC for a few months doing the UC-DC program. While I was at UC Santa Barbara and UC Davis transitioning, I ended up transferring back to Davis because I love NorCal. Sorry, SoCal. For those of you, Santa Barbara's beautiful, but I'm a NorCal person through and through. I love my big trees and my cold ocean that you can't swim in because of sharks. But yeah, so I lived in DC. We'd done a lot of cross-country road trips when I was a kid. So I've pretty much ridden all the public transit in the United States, I think. I've done the New York subway. I can't remember what Chicago calls theirs, MTA maybe. DC. I've done Amtrak all the way from Santa Barbara to Davis and to LA. So the Capitol Corridor and the Pacific Coast Starlight. I've traveled them all. So what really kind of came back to me like throughout my career was I kept getting drawn back to transit. I kept getting drawn back to multimodal. Even when I was working at a marketing agency, I helped develop the Go Safely campaign for Caltrans, well, OTS at the time and now OTS Caltrans. And I was a big advocate for the like bikes and pedestrian safety, and like I would come up with the social media posts, so I was always researching what Caltrans was doing and what OTS were doing to promote safety for bikes and pets, and so that drew me into the legislature, where I was like, I think I want to write policy. I think I want to be part of that. And I started off in our caucus doing communications for the assembly members. So I worked on the assembly side and just really found myself being like, I want to be part of the implementation of it. Like I want to be part of, policy is great. Policy is where ideas, start, but really it's the departments and agencies like Caltrans who are making these a reality. They know, they're the subject matter experts. So like what I really saw were these ideas that start, these seeds that are planted in the legislature bloom in the state agencies and departments. So I was like, I want to be over there. Like I want to be with the people who are talking to the communities, making it happen, finding who needs it the most, getting the funding where it needs to be. And at the same time, I was getting my master's in public administration. So I was really getting more experience on that side of it too, on the implementation side, and just, found myself drawn to it. And it really worked out. My friend actually had the job before me, and she left to go work for the governor's office, or for the first partner's office, excuse me. And she was like, you would be great for this. I was like, I've been waiting for you to leave. I will take the job. So she wanted to be more PR. I said I wanted to be more program focused, and we did a little switch. And it was like the best timing. It was just really meant to be. I'd already knew about the ESTA at the time sustainability office, because I also had a friend working in the office, Allie, shout out to Allie Dewar if you're watching, who's Caltrans' #1 recruiter, I swear. She just helped us get a bunch of people on our team too. So yeah, it was really meant to be. It was knowing people and like always being in that space, always listening out for ways to make. Someone asked, is the future multimodal? And I think it is. I really don't see how we can achieve the goals that we have as a state beyond transportation, beyond climate goals, from housing to education. You cannot do what we want to achieve without considering how people get there. And there needs to be more than just cars. We have to think about people's physical accessibility as well as geographical accessibility to these services. People should not have to drive an hour in their cars just to get to work or school. It shouldn't be kids with a single mom are the only ones on the bus. Everyone should be taking these transit or having options to get somewhere that isn't a vehicle. I credit a lot of my success to learning that independence at such a young age. I learned how to problem solve. I learned how to get myself places, time management, responsibility, organization, all of the above were learned because I took public transit. If I missed the bus, it would be really hard to get my mom to get me to school. And there were no friends to take me. So I had to get on that bus every day. So I am the biggest advocate for multimodal. I think there need to be options. I am now a bike advocate. I love biking because we've made it easier because of the work that ESTA is doing, our complete streets. I live in Midtown. I'm able to walk and bike to work whenever I want to. I want to be a homeowner, but I'm really, really I'd like to stay on the grid. I want to be where the resources are. I want to be where I can choose how to get to work every day based on my mood. If I'm tired, I can bike or I can walk. I'd love for a light rail to go right past my house, but it just doesn't. I would love to take a bus, but sometimes that's not the option. So that's really why I'm here, is for my own selfish reasons that I would like to have more options. But I also see how that really affected my life and my outcome in life, that I was privileged enough to have those options. So yeah.
Thank you, Bella. So many great points in your story. I really love that. Just talking about the public transit made me think about my own high school years and connecting me from Bay Area cities to get around and staying on one bus. Yeah, just going from Sunnyvale all the way to San Jose and different cities. Really exciting times to think about that. And I just rode my first electric scooter the other day. In fact, Harriet saw that. And it just opened up new ideas of hey, I can totally get around town without the car, So I love that story that you shared. It was great.
Yeah, middle and last mile connections are critical. Electric scooters, e-bikes, foldable bikes, they're all great options. Yeah, and that's the kind of stuff I'm passionate about, is how do we get an everyday person to think sustainably about their transit? If I can get a friend of mine to take a light rail or a bus or walk with me, I'm my day is made. So that's my goal in life. And I know it's different depending on where everyone lives. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think
Great
that's
point.
why we do this work. Yeah.
Yeah, across the board, all three of you, some really good stories here, and just it's really evident all the passion that you guys bring to your roles, which makes you such great assets at Caltrans. Thank you for sharing that. So next up, Harry, do you want to do any questions right now before the chat, or?
I was curious because there's been quite a few coming in, but Bella, maybe she spoke about kind of policy and stuff. Do you deal any with grants and grant programs? There was a question about equity regarding community grants. Is that something you can speak to?
Yeah, actually, Riley might even be able to speak a little bit more to that with our ZEV grants. But I'll just kind of give a broad overview that our both race and equity and actually kind of all of our teams really promote the different grant opportunities within Caltrans, but also outside of Caltrans too, our different partners. We have an extensive listserv. I will plug that. Please subscribe to our listserv to stay up to date on grant programs that we share. But we really don't, at least most of our teams don't manage their own grants other than carbon reduction program and Riley's different opportunities. So I'll let him speak to those more specifically. But that is part of EQI is that tool will be used to help determine the equitability of a project to help with funding decisions down the road, potentially. We're developing use cases. But yeah, it's definitely something we talk about and are aware of, but not necessarily things we work on. But I'll let Riley kind of speak more to that.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Bella, teeing that up. Yeah, in our group, one of the main things we do is help secure funds for transportation electrification projects. So we are, always looking out on listservs of new grant programs or notice of funding opportunities that are coming out. We coordinate with our Division of Transportation Planning, Office of Strategic Investment Planning all the time. They're kind of our intake with for these types of programs. On the equity side of things, obviously we look every day, all of our work is looking through an equity lens. But also the programs themselves, so specific grant programs may have specific requirements for funding amounts that go to, let's say 50% of the funding that you receive needs to go to areas of disadvantaged communities or so on and so forth. So a lot of the times the programs have that written into the requirements. And obviously to receive those funds, you're obligated to deliver that as well. But yeah, we always try to go above and beyond. I have to point to our National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Program, NEVI, which is something I'm really excited about, and what it really means for the access of electric vehicle charging infrastructure. So California will receive $384 million every 5 years to support charging stations along 7,000 miles of interstate, U.S. routes, and state routes in California. And really to put into perspective like how impactful this will be, at the end of this program, there will be at least 4 fast chargers for every 50 miles or less, and no more than 1 mile from any of the identified corridors. And Bella, I think you have a picture of the NEVI map that we could probably share.
That's awesome.
And then on the equity side of things and the impacts to disadvantaged communities, this program is also hugely impactful for that. So the NEVI program, there is a focus on disadvantaged and low-income communities. So the requirements of the program are that 50% of the chargers must be in disadvantaged low-income communities, and 40% of the benefits must go to Justice 40 communities. So this is a really great program. This is something that's going to get our improve access and get us on track to be able to support this transition over into the zero emission vehicle space. So I just want to give a shout out. The first round of NEVI solicitations has already been released, and this is done in partnership with the California Energy Commission as well. So forgot to mention that. And the first round of notice of proposed awards is expected this April. So you see the stars there on the map. Those are some of the first corridors we're targeting with the first round of solicitations. And then there's going to be other corridors to come. But yeah, that's a really big one there.
Nice. Yes, it's great to hear all these great initiatives are happening and already happening, right? And then also that designation of like putting your money where your mouth is in terms of equity and the 50% contribution to the underserved communities. That's really huge, and love this. Love to see this coming along. So really great work. Wow. Thank you,
Bella, as you spoke to the newsletter, I did put the link in the chat, so it's there for anybody that was interested in subscribing to that.
Thanks, Laura. And I'll just kind of add something to what Riley's talking about, but public-private partnerships are such an exciting opportunity for the state. I'm really excited about the NEVI program. I'll say that that's what's really got me excited about ZEVs when I came into ESTA. It was like the first thing that I helped work on. So I'm really excited to see this program really roll out. I think it's going to be really a game changer for our ZEV adoption in the state. So yeah, subscribe to learn more.
Shameless plug. Love it. I'm trying to look for some, are there like related questions? Okay, this is an interesting question. Snowplows and heavy duty construction equipment. Is there any talk of electrification for those type of vehicles? Is that something in the works? Or anyone speak to that?
Yeah.
Barbara's nodding.
Yes. So, the Advanced Clean Fleets rule requires us to transition our whole fleet, which includes, what we like to say is sedans to snowplows. So like everything that you can think of. Obviously, snowplows are a bit more complex in that transition, but we are working with the Division of Equipment and Maintenance to come up with ideas and solutions that make sense so that we don't impede our everyday operations.
Gotcha.
A little bit too. So we have the requirements to change over our fleet, but we also have requirements that have, there was just a couple of Senate bills that were signed 2 years ago now. And we even have to make sure that all of our facilities and operations are zero emission. So that includes our fleet, but also includes all our buildings. So we need to make sure that all of our buildings are not emitting any greenhouse gases by 2035. So it's a pretty big lift, and we're working across divisions to make sure that happens. So we're not only working on the fleet front, but we're also working on all of our buildings too to make sure that we're switching out all of those heating systems that are running on natural gas. And it's going to be by 2035. So we've got a little bit of time to do it, but we are actually working on it now. So it's a big lift for Caltrans to work on the fleet side and the building side to make all this happen.
Awesome. Yeah, quite the undertaking. And yeah, I guess I didn't even think about the heavy duty equipment turning electric. Like, you don't even think, like, obviously it's, wow. Yeah, that's going to be great. Sedans to snowplows, is that what you said, Riley? I like that. That's your little tagline, right?
I'll start the social media campaign on that, Riley.
Yeah, I love
That was
it.
great.
Yep.
I like that.
Cute. There's a few other questions, but we're looking at like 5 minutes. And I know we didn't even get to all of our questions because I was interested to hear about some of your, I mean, I think you touched on a little bit throughout your answers of the projects you're excited about working on. But we will collect all of the questions that are in the chat, and our panelists have been kind enough to say that they will answer those questions, and we'll include those when we send out the recording. So don't worry if your question was not answered. We will get those to our panelists and get those answered for you and send those out with the recording of this session. So with that, Laura, did you want to close us out? Or,
Yeah, I just checked the chat right there. I did put the links in there. We have the links in there to connect with our panelists on LinkedIn. That's a great opportunity. And also to sign up for the next CT Talks webinar, episode 7, which is going to be March 28th. And that's going to be on women's empowerment. We're honoring Women's History Month. So those links are in the chat right now. So grab those. And yeah, and I think, Carrot, you have the last slide up, right?
I do, yes. I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you to our amazing panelists. Let's give them a round of applause. Everyone that knows how to work those emojis, let's send some love their way. Thank you so much for being put on the spot and you know, prodded by all of us, the public and us. So we really, really appreciate your time today. We appreciate all the work that you're doing. My gosh, you're covering so much and moving us forward into a sustainable future. It's really admirable. And Laura and I, every time we host these, we feel so proud to be a part of Caltrans, just learning more about the work that everyone's doing. So thank you for being such an integral part of that. We really, really appreciate you and your time and the work that you're doing. You're all phenomenal. And thank you to our audience. Thank you for joining in. Thank you for your questions. If you have any suggestions for future topics, as you know, Caltrans has a hugely diverse population of different projects and programs that we work on, different areas geographically. If you are curious about any of those other areas of Caltrans, shoot us an email. We want to hear from you. We want to bring you the areas of interest. We're always going to look for those buzzwords and see what we can pull. We've got lots of fun people to pull from. We've got a great group of people here at Caltrans. So again, thank you for attending. As Laura said, this was recorded, so that recording will be sent out to you all. And as she said, we have episode 7 coming in March, which in honor of Women's History Month is Women's Empowerment. We have 4 amazing panelists for that. So if you're interested, please go ahead and register. I believe Laura put the registration link in the chat. And oh, and then just a quick thing. We have a quick survey after the webinar closes. It'll take you like maybe a minute. We'd really appreciate your feedback. Just a couple of questions just to make sure that we're moving forward. We take all that feedback. If you've noticed any changes happening, we're hearing you and we're trying to make these better and make sure it's always a better experience each time. So thank you for always giving such great feedback. Thank you again. I feel like the thanks just pouring out. Thank you to everyone for putting the emojis up. It's always nice to see. Thank you, Bella, Barbara, Riley. It was absolutely a pleasure to work with you all on this. And yeah, have a great afternoon, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.